there's a higher level of consciousness and awareness that we could benefit from by just simply being in the practice of noticing, because noticing is awareness, and awareness and no thought is what meditation is. It's allowing thoughts to drift by and not to be um, carried away by thoughts.
Namaste. Welcome everyone to today's Yes Talk. The title of today's session is Inner Peace and Happiness, and our guest speaker today is Mr. Lionel Ketchian. He's an author, speaker, and advocate for happiness and peace. He founded the Happiness Club, an organization dedicated to promoting the benefits of being happy through meetings, newsletters, and their website. The club has expanded globally with chapters across the world. Welcome, Lionel, sir. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Yes platform. We are really delighted to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Arunamina, and thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Bijani. Thank you so much. Good to see you again, and it's really wonderful to be together. Connection is peace when we connect, because when we connect, um, it's not myself connecting with you. It's the pure oneness of uh, of of us, of the oneness of you, and to see myself in you, to love myself as you, to love you as myself. This is the pure beauty of being together, being connected, the power of connection. And the power of connection is truly happiness. This is what happiness is when we find that in ourselves, and then we find connection. When we find happiness in ourselves, we connect to that. And when we want to share and serve others with that happiness, then we're connected to others, because it's not about whether or not other people are happy. It's sharing the intention of happiness, which is really about peace. It's it's desiring peace. It's an intention of peace in the world. And it's not about wanting to see peace. I leave that to the universe. I leave that to what is. It's about allowing peace within us, because Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you want to see. So it's not out there, it's within each of us. When we make that change within ourselves, we're able to find it in the world, we're able to see it. And so I want to talk about something that I've been developing recently that I think could be, hopefully, will be of benefit to you. It's it it's basically new, but we're talking about something ages old: meditation. Meditation is something that I know any spiritual person is familiar with. Finding a place to quiet our mind, sit, and let go of thoughts, and enter the oneness of all that is. And basically, meditation is about, let us call it, controlling our thoughts. I'm not going to define it, but I would say I've been meditating for over 50 years. So, and I'm a beginner. Yeah. I have found something that I think is of real value for all of us, for the path to peace, for each of us to experience in our heart, in our minds, in our lives, in our families and communities. And that is something called noticing. Noticing. There's something very interesting about noticing. It's very, very simple. There's no thought whatsoever needed for noticing. Um, there's no practice. Noticing in itself is a practice. For example, I'm noticing things here on Zoom. I'm noticing all of the people on, and nothing more. Nothing more. Now, interestingly, noticing, well, let me ask a question. Can everyone hear me fine? Everything good? Yeah, okay, good. So I noticed that I want to make sure that's fine. So now I don't have to think about that anymore. So noticing is very interesting. And in ways, it could be used as a meditation way of living. It's different than meditation, but let me go back to explaining noticing so you'll understand it. When I notice something, when something comes into, for example, I could notice a thought and not be taken from it. I noticed that I had the thought, what if no one can hear me well? So then I asked the question, and that's been taken care of. So I've been able to put that, what I noticed, aside and be present again. Noticing is presence, is present moment. I've entered the present moment by just noticing simply that I'm here, you're here, we're here. And it's so beautiful because when you notice, an interesting phenomena about noticing is it has no judgments. So it doesn't bring thought into noticing. When I look at the screen, I notice it. I have no judgments, no thoughts about it, no good, no bad, just noticing, just what is. And if you're noticing, you're noticing. But if you're thinking about what you're noticing, then you're not noticing, you're thinking. So there's a very sharp difference between noticing what is and, you know, thinking about what is. So I noticed that my eyes weren't looking, at the uh, camera. So I adjusted it. I didn't need any thinking. I just noticed it and I corrected it just by itself, you know. Um, I've made it I guess you can call it a practice of getting on my scale every morning when I get ready in the morning in the bathroom. And I used to think I need to get on that scale every day. Now I don't think about any of that. I was washing up and I noticed the scale. So I got on the scale. I didn't have to think that, oh, I want to get on the scale. I just noticed it. You, um, I'm sure that you've all been practicing meditation, and I'm sure that you're familiar with so many spiritual masters. I mean, Eckhart Tolle has talked about the power of now, and basically, meditation or spiritual teachers are teaching us and sharing with us ways to let go of thinking, to let go. Good. So, if to take a step back, I'm so glad everyone can hear me. Um, when I asked if anyone could, if everyone could hear me before, that was noticing, you see. So I wasn't thinking, can everyone hear me? I just noticed that I should ask that question to make sure. And it became true that we needed to address that. But when we notice, we can address everything in our lives. In other words, what I'm saying to you is that you don't need to think about anything. You don't need to deal with thoughts in your life. Um, there's a higher level of consciousness and awareness that we could um, benefit from by just simply being uh, in the practice of noticing, because noticing is awareness, and awareness and no thought is what meditation is. It's allowing thoughts to drift by and not to be carried away by thoughts. Noticing just keeps you away from thoughts. Now, um, this could be very helpful for people who have any kind of overthinking, difficulty with their mind, being compulsive, or even have fears, because your mind, your thoughts are always coming up with fears and thoughts and concerns about the future or dealing with the past. You can also use noticing to notice a thought. For example, I'm going to give you an example. I live in New Haven area in Connecticut, and Dr. Ramesh was up in this area. In fact, Dr. Bernie Siegel lives in my town, and and so we're in the country. We're in the country. Let me just imagine, and this is true. About 2 years ago, a bear came up in my yard, and he came on the deck and walked around, and then left. No problem. Imagine that I'm afraid of that bear. Imagine I'm afraid of that bear. And my thoughts always make me look outside. Is there a bear? And I'm concerned about that. And that's my thought. And I'm living with that over every day for 2 years. Now, with noticing, you could notice the thought and just think, well, I noticed there's no bear. So I can let go of that thought. And I also know that when I notice there is a bear, I know I can do whatever I need to do to be safe and enjoy, the animal. So noticing takes the place of thinking. What does that do? It frees us. What does it free us for? Well, for me, I can give you an experience. It frees me to not think about results. In other words, I don't know what I'm speaking about today will benefit you. I don't know that. And it's really not my concern, but my concern is two things. My first concern is that I love you. That's my first concern, that I do this with love. Absolute love. So with love, it's unconditional. It doesn't matter. There's no results with love. Love is love. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. I benefit myself with love. And number two, I love the subject. I love happiness. I love peace. I love freeing our minds. Why? Because then we can be free, not just to be me, but to connect with everything and everyone. I've gotten to the point, I think my thinking has gotten me to embrace noticing. And what I've been doing with my thinking is I've been saying, I love what is, I love the now. Every day I think, let me do everything with love. Let me do everything with love every day. And that's a blessing for me. I'm not doing it for anybody else. I'm doing it for me, but I can't help but spill that over as a way of serving or sharing with others something beautiful that I'm experiencing. And if you choose to, you can as well. The other thing is I love everyone. I love everyone regardless of what they do, because I just love everyone. A human being is to be loved. Now, I don't even now think about, I used to say, I love everyone. I may not love what they do. I now say, whatever they do, it's not up to me. I don't judge it. I let it go. I just love them. That's it. So that has made me free of fear, self-protection, Ego, ego. Um, I feel wonderful about myself, but I don't need anyone else to tell me that I'm wonderful, because that's using the ego uh, to enjoy your life. That's wanting other people to say nice things about you, and I think that's a result of not living in the peace that we each have available to us. If we're in peace, our egos are well fed. Egos are taken care of. They don't need to um, ask for others to love them or anything like that. In other words, this idea of noticing removes any need for anything. You just notice how much abundance there is in your life, in the world, in a day, in a person. I mean, when I look at any one of you and just notice, I'm getting chills up my spine. I feel tremendous love, and there's no reasons needed to explain that. There is no explanation for it. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about the spiritual part of what's available for each of us. This is the spiritual nature that is absolutely part of us. In fact, it is us, but we don't see that because for example, I could see myself now, right now in the Zoom session. I could see, okay, now I don't look like I did when I was 6 years old or 15 or 20, and I'm going to be 80 this year. But here's what normally I see is I don't see myself. So I'm not even, in a sense, I'm here. Let me explain it this way. So no, I'm not looking at myself anymore, right? You can still hear me, right? Okay. But now that I'm not looking at my real self, I'm looking at you. And you know something? That's who I am. I'm you. I love you. I'm you. Why do I need to be me? What is me? Is a thought. It's when I'm free to love you. Look at how much love I have now. I'll come back. Yeah. So my feeling is that if we try noticing, now another thing, let me say this. In meditation, for example, it's a good idea to sit, possibly close our eyes, of course, deep breathe, and find a place of quiet, and maybe meditate for 15, 20 minutes or hours. I've done that as well. But with noticing, you take it with you. It's portable. I'm noticing right now. I'm noticing. So I'm in meditation now. You know, also, a spiritual teacher, also, had written a book on was happiness, and he said he was a meditation teacher, and he said meditation is what also said. Now, when we're noticing and not thinking, you're in meditation, because I'm not I'm not following my thought. I don't even have any thoughts about anything. But what I do have is an openness, an open heart, an open mind to allow myself to experience life now, right now. You can't do that with thought. If you want to be in the present moment, if you want to be present, then if you're thinking, then you're not present. Um, but if you're noticing, you are, because what I'm doing is noticing the present, noticing it. I'm seeing some leaves outside my window, and they're moving a little bit. I can look at that a few times and say, yes, I've seen it. What's the big deal? I've noticed it. What else is there? No, it's a new moment every single time. And I look at that now as a child would look at something for the first time, and with wonder and and gratitude that I could see it. Noticing encompasses not just seeing, smell, touch, touch, feeling, your touching. That's noticing. Hearing is noticing, but you don't have to use thinking. And when you don't use thinking, here's the difference. When you're noticing, the word know is the beginning of noticing. You're knowing. Noticing is knowing. Thinking is wanting to know. So you're always thinking, always wanting to know what. Then you learn this, then you want that. And how do I know that's the end? Noticing, you just know. It Krishnamurti would talk about this. He didn't use that word noticing. I've read, I think my library contains probably I don't know if I have all of Krishnamurti's books, but I probably have much more than 10 of his books. And I read them 40 years ago and had real trouble understanding him back then. But when he says the observer and the observed are one, I now understand what he's saying with noticing. I couldn't do it with thinking. So I'm presenting this idea, and another thing, I don't know if I even want to call this an idea that I'm sharing with you. I'm only sharing with you my experience that this is really working for me, and I developed it very recently, even before I agreed to be on this Zoom session. So I'll give you. I'll suggest one more thing, and then if we can, maybe we can open this up to questions. Okay. The way I've been working is I quiet my mind, and allow whatever comes up by just being empty. And this idea came to me through that. So I did not create this. I allowed it to come in by making space for what is it that could help me live a peaceful life and something that I could benefit others with. And this is one thing that has come to me. I've also written an inner peace practice. I won't talk about that today, but this practice is very deep, very simple, you've learned it. Just notice. And if you have a thought, like in meditation, you might imagine a ship on the horizon in your meditation, and it sails off and the thought is gone. That was one way to handle a thought while you're meditating. With noticing, you realize immediately that I'm not noticing. I'm involved with a thought. And then you can notice that. And when you notice it, you've let go of it. I want to add one last thing. Noticing is the first step in letting go. And letting go is so important for all of us human beings, because as human beings, all of our problems arise from not being able to let go of things, difficulties, arguments, what someone said, and so forth. But when we let go of everything and we're not judgmental, noticing is a way to develop that which we want. We want to live in peace. And when we do live in peace, we truly have something to give another person, another human being, and share that with one another. So I always felt, there's one way to try to make the world better: go out and into the world and do things that might help change the world. But like Gandhi said, when we change ourselves, we really never know how much good we're doing for the world. We really don't know. And I go with that. I don't need to be confirmed of, what difference does it make? It makes a difference to me. And goodness is very important to me. But even goodness can be a judgment. So I let that go and I just notice everything. But I do it with love, and I do it with peace. And ultimately, what I'm talking about is freedom. Freedom from myself, freedom from my thoughts, and free to love and care. and embrace this world, which is truly not only magnificent, but um, it's unbelievable. I mean, to live in the present moment and begin to just notice the simple things in life bring a complete different dimension to being alive and being present. So I share this with you with love and letting you know it's working for me. And I have we do things every Monday, as you're doing every Monday. We have 2-hour sessions for the last 7 years, and the Happiness Club I've run for 25 years. So these are things that I don't talk about them unless I've experienced them and found how it works for me and how they fit in to the logic of the world we're living in. So I cannot thank you enough for inviting me here. But I would love to listen to you if I may, and anything that you may have to say or question would be my joy.
Sure. Thank you so much, Lionel sir, for this deeply insightful session. And as you suggested, let's open the session to the participants now. Participants, if you have anything to ask, anything to share with all of us, please go ahead. You can use the chat box or simply unmute yourself and speak up.
I'll begin.
Yes.
Hello to everyone.
Hi.
I also noticed those yellow smiley cups right behind you.
Yes.
Such a nice idea, like you just enter your room and you see a smiley cup and it just makes you smile anyway. While you were talking, I just wrote about the mind and thoughts that you said in an equation. Just tell me if it's correct. So mind can be equal to thoughts plus awareness.
Could you say that one more time, please?
Our mind is thoughts plus an awareness or a consciousness, right?
Yes.
So if I do mind minus the thoughts, it becomes just awareness, what you're saying, just noticing. Can you tell us if I'm correct, I've just tried to interpret it like that, but can you tell us what kind of small exercises you can tell somebody to just start noticing things? Because even that is difficult for people. They will
Yes.
attach an emotion to.
Yeah. Well, noticing is so simple that you can't do it wrong, but you may think you're doing it wrong, and then you're not noticing. So if you notice without thought, you're there, and you will find this so relaxing, so peaceful, and so productive that it could take the place of thinking. Because thinking, here's what our mind has done, and this is scientific what I'm sharing because I've looked into this a little bit, if I may. Um, what I'm talking to you about is left brain. And I don't want to get into it scientifically, but the right brain, the right brain is about thinking. The left brain is about noticing, intuition, and other spiritual type of things. But we've activated the right brain so much that all it does is worry about what could happen, what happened, how we are reacting to what happened, how we shouldn't, and so forth. So it never rests, and it's always protecting us, and it's also become the cause of the voice in the head that never leaves us in peace. And so this is a chance to step out of that voice in the head and reconnect to our true self by just noticing. That's it. Nothing there's nothing more to learn than just when you look at something, you look at it and then you look at something else. And here's the thing, when you look at something, you will immediately know what that is all about, Or if it requires some thought, then you could use thought to, in other words, you look at something, you don't know what it is, then you could use thought for that benefit because it's a useful thought. Not, in other words, you're learning to use thought when you need to and not let yourself be used by thought, which is what many people are doing. Is that answer some simple? Keep it simple. Notice, and what you'll want to do in noticing, because you'll be doing it right immediately, is do it for a while. Do it for 3 minutes at a time if you'd like. But eventually, you're going to start to experience the peace of noticing and the difference of not having to think about everything and how free you feel now. Yeah.
Not bringing any emotions to, just
Yes.
shifting
That's
your
a
awareness.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful because you're not dragging your emotions into it. That it's unconditional. So you're in a place of pure peace and meditation, frankly. Real meditation. No thought. It seems strange at first because you say, shouldn't I be thinking about something? But in the beginning, don't concern you. Let go. Let go of all thinking. And now, if your house is on fire, use your thinking. Okay. But otherwise, learn to trust yourself. Learn to trust the universe. Learn to trust the universe. There is a beautiful universe here, but our thoughts aren't as necessary as we humans have decided they should be in our lives.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Participants, anyone else wants to speak?
Namaste. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes. Perfect. Perfect.
Namaste, and thank you for a wonderful session and some food for the thought. Again, although I'm trying to notice, learning, noticing, but yeah, it's thinking also. So a very thin line for me right now to understand. So in simple words, if I can put it, it's like pause, take a pause from your chaotic life, observe, stay with that, and then maybe slowly the thoughts will start weaning off, because we have forgotten to stay, or like you're saying, noticing, to observe things, observe people, and we just are so full of ourselves, or full of thoughts, or full of what we should be doing next. So this is am I on the correct path? I mean, like you pause, you observe, let the thoughts flow in the beginning, but just be there, and the peace or the calmness will come slowly. Am I
Yeah,
correct?
now, yeah, that's wonderful. Are you a psychologist?
No, I'm not.
You're not. Okay. All right. But that's beautiful. Just wonderful. And you're right about pausing. In fact, I thought, there was an old method when you're angry to count to 10. Remember, we were taught that. Noticing is like that, but you don't need to jump in the thought. The thought has never activated your emotions. And if it does, you could just notice it and then it'll just evaporate. Thoughts are not they're not even real. Think about it. Well, what I'm saying is look at the real world. I'm introducing us and myself to the real world. We're living not in the world, we're living in our thoughts. Now, if I'm looking at you and I'm listening to what my thoughts tell me about you, then who knows where I'm going? But I'm just noticing you and in love with this moment, in love by just noticing now. That's it. No more. Now, anything I say beyond that is thought, emotion, the past, the future, hoping, wishing. I don't need any of it. I would say that when we begin a practice of noticing, the whole universe, which is when we open our heart and not and close and in a way not use our mind but open our heart, the whole universe has come to us. Everything we ever are going to need is now part of us. It's within us to begin with. We've been looking in the wrong place for happiness, for peace. It's within us, of course, within us. So now we can look at everything as part of us, that's what noticing is. And it's so beautiful that the words would just take the beauty away. In other words, it's been said by many spiritual teachers that when you look at a bird or a tree or anything, don't look at it with the word. Don't look at it, oh, that's a blue jay or a sparrow. Don't look at it. Don't use your mind to describe the world, because then you really, I think Krishnamurti said that if you teach a child what the name of a bird is, they will never see that bird again. They'll only know the name and they will not know the real bird. So I'm talking about looking at reality, and you could call it God, you could call it the universe, but it's not out there. It's a part of us. And we begin to notice that we belong here. We are all one. All of it is part of us. So it was our thoughts that created a division in ourselves. I am me, and then my thought about me. With noticing, there's no thought. It isn't even me. You're me. I can love you as me. And I do, believe me.
Can I be honest with my feelings right now?
Please.
I can feel that love, and that love radiating through you towards me, towards all of us. At least I am feeling that. So lots of gratitude to you.
Yeah. And that's natural. It's natural for us to be there. What else is there? I mean, what else? What are we finding our joy in, if not what is? You are what is. That's perfect. As a matter of fact, I now look at everything as perfect. There's no mind for me to take it apart and say this, you could be better if this was this or that. That's ridiculous. It's perfect. Perfect. And we're perfect. But it's the perfection that's within us. And it can show outside like it does for all of you, but it's within us. We're carrying it with us. So I'm saying that if we throw off the baggage of the mind, the heaviness of the mind, it's weight loss of the mind. And it's a makeover for women. And I realize there's so many women in the happiness and spiritual, much more than men, which is fine. Hopefully they'll catch up with the women. But that is about letting go of, that's also about the desire to be happy and peaceful. But the desire could stop us from being peaceful and joy. Just enter into joy and peace. Become it as you are now. Now, maybe when we're together, you could really feel the joy and peace within you. Maybe. But we can take that with us as we leave, as we go into our day. Let's make it a part of our lives, because, here's the thing. And I hope I stop talking after this one. When I'm joyful as I am right now, really, and I'm content and joyful even when I'm not here with you. I've been happy since 1990. So, but here's the thing. I truly believe that the joy I feel spreads out into the world. It isn't just stopping with me. If it were, I would say, why am I speaking? Why am I talking? But the joy we feel, just like kindness, the kindness we do never stops with with the act of kindness. We hear other people, we listen to other people's acts of kindness, and it fills us with kindness and love. Everything we do matters, and negativity is negativity, but becoming a beacon of light for ourselves helps others to see that sometimes it's the only way for others to see that happiness is real, that peace is real. How the words really can never convey the idea of peace. Gandhi, when I think of Gandhi, I'm in peace. And other spiritual teachers, I'm in peace. I don't need to have the thoughts tell me that. In fact, I'm feeling that such an intensity right now in my spine and so forth that it's meaningless to talk about, because it is just natural that we can experience joy and bliss and oneness and oneness. And I think our thoughts make us feel separate. So a separated self can never be happy or joyful. We need to be one, first of all, within ourselves, and then we realize that that oneness exists in everything. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You've made me so joyful.
Thank you. Thank you for this experience. I am feeling so joyful and so happy. Thank you.
Dr. Bijlani, sir, would you like to share your thoughts, please?
Before me, I have here an American lady, an educationist who is staying in the ashram these days. She would like to say something.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I am very new to and I don't mind confessing that I've never done it. But I understand the word noticing, and I understand the word awareness. But in defense of thought, I want to submit to you that yes, noticing is a beautiful thing. You notice and you experience. I cannot notice without emotion. I'm going to try to do what you suggest. But this morning, for example, I worked the gardens around here, and I noticed a lot of things that had escaped me before. But joy came over me for the awareness and the sensibility I had to notice. So I don't want to make noticing something fleeting. I want to be noticed something more permanent. But for me, in order to be permanent, thought has to be involved, because thought brings me to the peace that you speak about by being grateful, by being acknowledging my blessings, acknowledging what the creations are out there for my enjoyment. So I don't know at this moment, I have to think about it, whether or not I can separate the noticing from thoughts, because to me, the thoughts reaffirm the noticing, whatever we noticed. And thoughts do not necessarily have to be negative. Sometimes noticing brings negative thinking, but sometimes it's necessary to notice the good, in my opinion. So in defense of thoughts, I cannot separate them from the noticing at this point. But I appreciate your argument, and I will practice it. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you so much. And no, it's not an argument. Believe me, you're free to do these things. And if you haven't tried the practice of noticing, then of course thought enters and explains it all, and now you mentioned while you were in the garden that you were using noticing, and then your emotions also became known to you, correct? Okay. So you could use noticing to just look at the emotions. Now, I want to mention something. Emotion is part of us, the emotions. Thoughts are another part of us. When you engage thought with emotions, that could take you all kinds of places. If you want to keep emotions separate and thoughts separate, that would be if notice that you could do that, that would be wonderful, because that's a step towards becoming free. And I'm just suggesting, that isn't meditation about being free from our thoughts for a certain period of time? Yeah. Yeah. Is that true? Doctor, would you consider that? Okay. So I'm really talking about one of the highest states is freedom. And I would, Michael Singer wrote the book, if you're familiar with it, The Untethered Soul. He wrote the book, The Untethered Soul. And he said that whole book is about one thing. It's about becoming free. And somebody asked him, even though he doesn't include this in the book, he said, what are you getting free from? And you know what he said? His answer was, you're getting free of yourself. So I'm only sharing with you how I'm getting free of myself. You see? So you're free to do whatever you want. I mean, and I know you could look, I love constructive thinking, positive thinking. That's all I knew about. That's I think that's beautiful. I love that. But if this could be a tool for you or a strategy that you could use, it's up to you. Yeah, see what happens. I don't want to be right. Being right is an illness of humanity. It's part of our problem. I'm not here to be right, believe me. And I'm not here to be wrong. I'm just here to share things that I have found, like, for example, I found that breathing is a great idea. I'll share that with you. So continue breathing. It works very. See, I've been of help. Yeah. Anyone else? I could feel somebody else wants to share something. I know it. I know, but you don't have to.
I think it's a stage about regarding the thoughts. I mean, the thoughts come initially, then emotions also come, and you're kind of attached. And then it's a stage, I mean, there are phases. Then from that, you go on to, like, if it's negative and positive, then you go a little more towards the positive side, a little more positive, and then eventually maybe you will overcome emotions, and then you will just notice things and have that kind of because I've noticed that in a lot of people in the ashram, in Aurobindo ashram, where they don't attach any feelings, and they like whatever work and seva they are doing, they just do it as sadhana, and with equanimity, like, because there are no emotions, so they don't get carried away with the negative or the positive. They just carry on with their work on a daily basis. Maybe it's just a phase.
Are they happy? Are they happy doing that? Do you see them as happy?
Yeah. They look very content and happy.
That's
Yes.
it. Yeah. We don't need our thoughts to be happy. Actually, we can go beyond them. We can use them when they're necessary. I'm not saying don't think anymore. I think it may be true that I can't stop myself from thinking, but I could stop myself from engaging in the thought if it's not of any use to me, you see. There's supposedly a way to stop a thought with this question. You could stop a thought, and here it is. What is my next thought? That stops your thoughts. What is my next thought? But when I say, what is my next thought, I'm noticing what it might be, and so I'm in peace. When we say we're using our thinking because we think it helps us get what we want, getting what we want is a thought that separates us from our true source. I feel that life can be an experience where we don't need to want anything. We're alive. We're doing the best we can. We're learning to love more. And I feel without wanting, because there are needs, of course, we're talking about the needs, that they just automatically flow in. And I really feel that with noticing, they flow in perfectly. There's nothing to stop them now. So as much as you may want things, how do we know that our thoughts about wanting things stops them from coming to us? Something to think about. Something to think about. You could think about that. Yeah. Yeah. So
Dr. Bijlani, sir, I request you to share your concluding remarks, maybe, if you have.
Thank you, Lionel, for speaking entirely on the basis of your own experience. And that is something which always works the best, because what you experienced is what you really know. And that is something which nobody can deny. Because what you have experienced, you may not be able to share completely, but nobody can deny that you had the experience. But when the experience is based on love, and essentially you have emphasized, it could be felt. It was not just the words that you were using, as Priya said, that we could feel that. And that is something which not only makes you feel yourself at peace, it puts everybody else at peace, because love and peace are contagious. So that is what we observed during the last 1 hour or so. Now, I think one important thing that you brought out was that meditation is a highly overrated technique. And that actually gels very well with the teachings of Sri Aurobindo and the mother, whose way of looking at spirituality or the spiritual path is not technique intensive. All techniques are permitted, but no technique is compulsory. And for any of the techniques, including meditation, there is no set path there's no set method which must be followed. It's not that meditation should be done exactly in this way. There were disciples in Sri Aurobindo Ashram in Pondicherry who said that we can't meditate. And they were told that, well, work can be your meditation. There were people who said that I find that instead of meditating, I'm much more at peace when I feel that I'm resting in the mother's lap. They were told, well, that is your meditation. So there was no rigid method by which everybody had to meditate. If you can't meditate, you need not meditate in what is normally considered meditation. That is following a prescribed technique, sitting in a posture, keeping the eyes closed, breathing in a certain way, chanting some mantras, and things of that sort. None of these things is absolutely essential. What really, as you said, quite, although you were not talking much about meditation, but what you said was essentially it is about regulating our thoughts, if not stopping them altogether. Because the fact is that all those who have tried to introspect have found that much of our thoughts are really completely unnecessary. And thoughts also have a tendency to get rather complicated and analytic. And one way of looking at meditative techniques is that they help us, if not stop the thoughts, at least simplifying them and elevating them to a higher level, making those thoughts emerge from the highest level of our consciousness. So we can raise our level, and we find that the more you rise, actually, the simpler they get. Because, see, if you're noticing a person or you're noticing a group of people, if you just notice them, as you said, it's very easy to see them as just people, as one of us. If you look at it from a spiritual angle, then you can say that, well, they are all manifestations of the divine, and therefore they are exactly like me, because they are a manifestation of the divine as I am. They may be imperfect manifestations, but then so am I. So they are me, and me, I am them. So you can see that oneness. So if you stick that simplicity and raise yourself to a higher level. And in fact, that is one of the ways to meditate. Whenever you're seeing somebody or sitting with a group of people, then you just observe them and see the divine in them and see that they are the same as you. That itself becomes an open eye meditation. We don't have to close the eyes for that. So these are some of the thoughts that crossed my mind, because when you see people, if you start, instead of noticing, you start thinking, then chances are that you also tend to get judgmental. Then love does not remain unconditional anymore. It is only by suspending the thinking or simplifying it to its extreme, to its uh, spiritual basis, and basing your thinking on that, that you can truly keep it simple and have truly unconditional and non-judgmental love without expecting anything in return. Uh, then, one thing which again observed was so similar to what the mother has said. When you said that a happy person doesn't need to meditate, that probably came from some spiritual master, uh, that a happy person doesn't need to meditate. The mother also said that, in fact, if you are truly sort of on the spiritual path and have made some progress, you would not need to meditate. You don't have to make an effort to go into meditation because if you're observing people, you are in a state of meditation. You are doing some work, you are so totally absorbed in it that you are in a state of meditation. So you don't have to make an effort to meditate. You have to make an effort to come out of meditation. That's what she said. So these are some of the things that crossed my mind. And why we need all that is because basically man is a mental creature and has a tendency to think, not only think, but overthink. And in that process, introduce many unnecessary complications in life. So life can be simple and also both noble, and can be full of that unconditional love, which is the only source of peace, which is, in fact, what we uh, can hope to get. When we talk in terms of just simple happiness, then we find that we are talking of something at a lower order, which is a part of dualities and comes coupled with sorrow. It's when we rise above that level that we discover that the true happiness, in fact, lies in being at peace. And we can be at peace only when our mind, both the feeling part and the thinking part, is anchored to that part of our being, which is itself always at peace. Because the raw, unrefined emotions tend to be volatile, and the ordinary mind tends to be always vacillating. So, how can something that is volatile and vacillating be at peace? It's when we anchor it to something which is always at peace, that is our soul, that we can be truly at peace. And that's not an event, that's a process. Uh, so, in fact, I was a little intrigued when you said that you have been happy since 1990, which looked like an event. As maybe you can make further remarks as the last word on why you look upon it as an event. What was that sudden change that you noticed from 1990 onwards? But all the same, the fact is that when we are living at the level of the ordinary mind, we experience both happiness and sorrow. It's like a sine wave. Happiness and sorrow, they come coupled together. But then as we walk on the spiritual path, if we look upon it as a process, gradually the amplitude of this sine wave goes down. So the fluctuations are not that much. And finally, if we are able to reach the terminal point, the goal, instead of the sine wave, now it becomes just a straight line. And that straight line is peace. Imperturbable peace, completely independent of external circumstances, which nothing can shake. So maybe you may like to say as the last word, something about what was that sudden change that you noticed in 1990, and anything else that you feel like sharing.
Oh, thank you for including anything else I would like to share, because first of all, I want to share, Dr. Ramesh, that I absolutely loved every word you spoke. I felt those are blessings that you're just giving us. I'm completely moved by your words. Thank you so much. Thank you for that wisdom, because it's important to hear that what we have to say is on the right path, that has a little bit of value to it. And when someone else can affirm that, explain that better, then it's collaborative. We're doing this together. It's not me. We're doing it together. I love that. I love that. So thank you for that. Another thing you said that I want to mention, Eckhart Tolle had said that as you develop your mind and you have a higher way of looking at things, that certainly when I hear about bad news or difficulties or tragedies in the world, there's always something. I have compassion and feelings towards that. But what he said, and this I'm finding true, that more and more as we evolve, then and the straight line is, by the way I look at happiness. That's so perfect. When I was teaching happiness in 1999, I started teaching at a university. I drew a straight line across all the chalkboards, and I said, that represents where I am. I don't go up, I don't go down. And that was 35 years ago. But what I've found is that when you experience something that's, excuse me, tragically, excuse me again, tragically emotional, you experience it, but you don't experience it with your emotions. You are not affected by it, and it doesn't mean you don't care deeply about what's happening. It's just that you're not reacting to it, and that you're not. It's like a ship in the ocean. It's surrounded by the ocean, but because it's compartmentalized in the hull, any water entering the hull doesn't sink the ship. It just affects one area, and the ship stays afloat. That's the important thing for a ship to do. We must stay afloat no matter what we're facing in this world. But to quickly address 1990, I spent that year until I became, being happy was it was a moment, it was Christmas Eve, actually, December 24th, 1990. I just realized I'm happy for no reason. There's a spark of happiness within me. And I said, that's it. That's what I'm looking for. And I thought, I'm never going to let go of this. What do I have to do to hold on to it? And I've always been on the lookout with what has to come along that's more important than the happiness. But I did spend a year making a list before I had computers in 1990 of the 10 most important things in my life. What was family, God, money was there, and things like that. And then finally, I realized that happiness was at the top of the list. It took me a year to say, and then I discovered Aristotle said, everything in life is a means to an end, except happiness, which is an end to itself. So I said, I found that. I found what was the most important thing. Now, I remember commuting home from Connecticut, from New York, and I saw my list. I had family. I have a wife I've been married to for 57 years, 3 kids. I had my family, and then happiness. And happiness was below family. And I wanted to put family first. And I thought, that's selfish. I can't do that. Then I realized, wait a minute, when I get home, I could say I love my family, but if I'm not happy, showing them love through happiness, then I'm not really giving them love. So I gave myself permission to make happiness more important than my family. And it has served me perfectly, because it's like peace, happiness is not selfish. You may benefit from it, but if you don't have it, you can't spread it, you can't give it. So, I just want to say this. In this one single moment in now, this moment for me cannot be any more perfect than it is right now. As a matter of fact, I would consider this the most perfect moment of my life, and the next moment will be just as good or better, because it's all so perfect. So thank you for the perfection that I've experienced by being with all of you. It's truly, truly a blessing. You are all a blessing. And I would feel that even when we separate, we will all continue together to bring the best to ourselves and share it with others, because this is where our lives really stay connected. And I love us. I love us.
Thank you so much, sir. So
Thank you,
before
thank
we
you.
close today's session, let me just quickly inform that the recording of today's session, and all the Yes Talks are published on our YouTube channel, Yes Spirituality. You can visit the channel and explore extensive content on yoga, education, spirituality, and related subjects like psychology and wellness. Lionel sir, thank you so much once again for
Thank
being
you.
with us today. And participants, thanks for your presence today. We'll close today's session now with a moment of peaceful silence. Namaste.